Now I'm using these are actually an XY Fairmont type door trim, and they're reproduction. And given that they're reproduction, you would think the fit wouldn't be too good. It's not too bad at all. Actually, the back one fits a lot better. I think this one was sort of kinked on transit there, so I can sort of play around with it. This came as a kit. They're not cheap. Around, I think, $800 or so. But they do come with this fitting kit, which includes the little plugs that go in, and of course the plugs themselves, door lock knobs, and there's the little escutcheons that are in there too, that sort of fit around and clamp in. Now, what's also prudent to fit with it are these as well. Now these are a sort of a gasket. I put that the wrong way. Which way does this go? They only fit one way, which is that way. And they're all laser cut, so you can see that you can get to the clips for the armrests, and they can clear these clips here as well. Now, I would put these clips underneath here and hold it in with a mastic sealer, just on the off chance that you need to take it off to do any work on the door locks later on in life. And that means you don't have to destroy those clips trying to get this off or distort this. So that would have a little bead of mastic around it just to protect it, so weather comes in through the top here, it doesn't penetrate the masonite on your door trim. The reason I've got this stuff out now is I need to fit the chrome trim across the top. It's one of the first things we need to do. Now the advantage with doing this way, and it's evident on the rear one, here's the rear one, this one fits absolutely brilliantly, is it doesn't actually have an ashtray cut out for it, and I'm not going to put the ashtrays in, I'm just going to leave them plain, but later on they can be cut out, as well as the hole for the door lock, and we do need that. That's in there somewhere, I can't remember where it is. Oh, it's there. Yeah, it's there. So we've got to be careful when we do that, but they're lovely looking things. And when you buy these, they come in a set of 4, and they're labelled. So we've got front right hand door, we want the front left hand door, so it's this one we're after. And so that has a contour in it for the top of the door and the door trim, and it's also got a cutout for the lock as well, so I've got to place this reasonably carefully. I'll just put 2 in there. I'm just going to stick them into the corresponding hole, just so I can sit it up where it's meant to be. I can get that strip and take a look at it. It comes with this tape. They're absolutely lovely underneath. You can get these second hand. I just bought new ones. I think they were on special when I bought them. Let's take this tape off. Oops. And that should give us some idea where it goes. So I can sort of fit them up to the door trim first, so that we know without any shadow of doubt that they're going to fit properly. And then I'll make a pencil line, albeit a very, very fine one, on the inside of that. You can see the front one looks really, really good. That's just sitting there temporarily. In the meantime, I've sort of fitted some of these rods. Can I see there? Yeah, you can. Some of these rods for sort of door locks and all this sort of stuff. I'll just take those screws out, but my main concern is, of course, this trim here has to be sort of stretched around into this sort of Coke bottle shape that these cars are really famous for, and I don't want to crimp that top part there. I might fit it on the door trim first to sort of get its shape right, and then come and pop a bit around. Now by putting it on the door, it's got a slight wave in it now, not really a bend as such. I'm just going to place it where I want it, which is right up against the edge. In this case, the front one wasn't as well fitting as this one, but a good guide is the rounded edge where the door lock rod comes through. Now we can't use just rivets by themselves, and if you use special ones they'll just fall through. So I've sort of got a washer, I'm fitting rivets through washers so to speak, and that'll still give it a little bit of movement, and it'll hold it there, give it a nice footing. So I'm going to put this one on now. And this will sort of squeeze down to shape. If it looks like it's going to kink, I'll run a bone through it, like a plastic spacer, and I'll keep it moving so it flares the lip up. If you try and bend it up bit by bit, you'll wind up with dents right along it. I'm saying exactly in roundabout. So there we go. Now I can sort of mess around with it and get it right to the edge. That's where it fits best on this door. Take that off. I always refer to this tool here. Oops. This is a Volvo service tool. I got it when I worked for White Horse Motors, and they call it a bone. It's a flexible plastic, but a very, very hard one. What we can do is we can just run on this channel on the inside, and that'll open it up consistently. Bring it down to there. And that way you won't get those dents in the top. And by opening up enough, the door trim's going to sit much better, and then we can sort of close it up if it's too big in the centre or whatever. But this way, pull it up. I probably should have put the door lock mechanism in yet. But we've got some chance of it sort of sitting in a bit better. Well, that still looks like it's sitting out a bit, just out of. Oh, yeah, no, that's alright. And then it actually looks a lot better. It looks like it's fitting a bit better, although it is poking out there still. So you can see when you get it to the point where you're happy, and this isn't quite there yet. I'm not happy with this part here. It seemed to sit an awful lot better in before I put this trim, but the trim is flush against there, and I've got to put the quarter windows and everything in, so I've got to muck around with that. But if it is sitting up in areas like this, you just got to keep the bone moving, and you can sort of stretch it back into shape without denting it. Now, rubber kits for these cars, or for any car for that matter, are very, very expensive, around $1,400. I always buy rubbers when I see them on special, and I pick these up for $30 each, and I buy them as I can afford them and also as I need them. And if you hunt around and get them when they're on special, you end up paying a lot less anyway. This is the rear quarter glass, and I probably should have put these in before I put those chrome strips in, but I've sort of wiped the edges, got rid of any mark, and I'm just going to use a bit of dishwashing liquid just to stick them on, and I'll just run around the glass, make it nice and slippery, and sort of feed it into the channel in here. And they can be very, very tight, particularly when they're new. I've got any hope of getting that in. Here we go. I'll put it in now. It's just a matter of trying to get it around without tearing the seal. I think that's pretty much in now. Quite challenging in a way, because you've got to sort of stretch them over, or stretch the rubber over the glass. You can see it's a nice tight fit there. That's the first one in. For the sake of $30, you wouldn't use it any other way, would you? You wouldn't do it any other way. That's the new one there. This is the old one. You can see it just breaks apart. It's useless. And so this is going to have to sort of slide in. I probably should have put this in. In fact, if I had my time again, I'd have put this in before that. And I still haven't buffed the door. But fortunately, I can sort of mask the lead off while I buff it. And on the top here, along this top here, there's going to be a Fairmont trim there anyway, so I'm only going to buff it up to that line. But again, we want to lubricate it. I'm just using a bit of the old Morning Fresh, and I'll just stick a bit either side. You can use pretty much anything, you know. You can use silicone lube or any of those sorts of things. I'm just using a bit of this Morning Fresh because I've got it here, and as I said before, I gave my silicone lube away like a tool. And that'll just slide in like that, and we can sort of push it down, and it's sitting up in there quite well, and because that is very, very, very slippery stuff, that Morning Fresh. So from here, I've already checked, we can get the just washing all this slippery stuff off, we can get the window in there, no worries. But I'm not putting the window in. Well, I'll put the window in, and then I'll put these felt bits on. I haven't got those yet. So for now, we need to put this guy in here, and that's the sort of brace for it that holds that in. And there's a sort of a pitch screw adjustments. Oh gosh, there's a sort of a pitch screw that sort of lines the window by allowing it to do this sort of thing. We need to take that out, and then we can sort of run that along. But I'll take that out as well. I haven't planned this out too well. I haven't cleaned it either. I should have cleaned it up properly, but you get the picture. That sort of goes in there, and then we can sort of secure it up the top. But I might take that out and clean it. It's a bit grubby. Push it into position as best we can. We've got this little grub screw here which goes in the back to secure the back of the frame. I'm just going to start that, but I won't tighten it fully. And we can bring the adjustment right in with that sort of screw down the bottom. But I need to see if that's sitting properly, and that seems to be sitting quite well on the inside and the outside. We've got our little screw there which secures it, and of course down here as well. I've just put all these rods and stuff in, and these little armrests things, but it's all looking fairly cool. Actually thought it'd be a bigger fight than that. So, first class in the car, that quarter window there, and this one over here. I've also stuck some insulation wool on the ceiling. This headlining bow looks a bit dodgy. This is the first one. It's a bit sagged and a bit horrible. I still reckon this car had a tree or something fall on this side, because that bow looks distorted, and I'm wondering, this door's been replaced as well, and of course the turret was replaced, but all things considered, it looks pretty bloody good now. I'm pretty happy with that. Well, what happens with this hinge now, this driver's door hinge, and if you remember it was very floppy in that it had a lot of lateral movement. These are just sort of, you pull them apart with a pin punch and they all come apart, and they're a splined pin. See that? Yeah, splined pin. Now, what you notice about them, the reason for that movement, is these little plastic sleeves that sort of fit in there. And if we pull one out, you can see it's absolutely knackered. It's gone. And the new kit comes with all the parts you need to build up a very healthy hinge. And of course the spring was missing out of this, the detent spring, which is here. That might be a bit tricky to put in. The new detent mechanism, we only need 2 bushes. I think there's enough here to almost do 2, or the top and the bottom one. The top one doesn't feel too bad, and of course you've got these new pins as well, and so they're different from one another. They're different lengths, so you need to make sure you select the right parts. I'm going to cut a quick notch in it, that way I can get the cold chisel to sort of have a bit of purchase on it, like that. There we go. And our replacement, there's 2 different size pins here, and we need the one with the longer shoulder for that sleeve to go over. So we're just sort of pressing it in with the vise, like that. And we can just sort of squeeze these. Now I've got soft jaws here. We can just squeeze those in all the way home. And soft jaws can be brass or aluminium, they're just sacrificial bits of material. And now that pin, when we put that pin in, will be nice and tight in there and allow it to sort of swivel without being too tight. A bit of grease on the top and the bottom bush. Again, high temperature bearing grease because it doesn't run. And that'll just sort of find its way in there, like that. And then we can sort of put the pin in, but we've got to get the right pin. So it's the longer, because we've got to do the other hinge. And this is the longer of the 2, so I'll stick that one in. And we just sort of feel it should just work its way in. just need it to be, I've got this little detent thing on now, so I've just got to press that in. There we go, it's pretty much all done. Just got to get this spring in. Just with these things, these what do you call them, these pins are splined, and if you get them too far down, that locks up. And I'm having a bit of trouble with this because I've sort of pushed it in too far, and that roller's a bit stiff. It's very hard to get it moving. So with this it's alright because it's not a blind hole. I can just knock it back through and get the right amount of clearance, and it's good. But I'm having a bit of trouble with this one. This spring can be a bit tricky to get in. I'm just going to get a long screwdriver and sort of squash it around there like that, and just try and click it into place. Should have some shit. Fucking hell. I hate springs. There we go. There we go, we're on our first detent, and I'll just give it a road test. Cool. But I'll paint it before I grease it up, but that'll do for now. So I've got these ones left, the pin and the two sleeves, and we can use that for the top hinge. There we go, we're all done. I've done the second hinge as well. Ended up using the old pin again with the new bushes. It's beautiful, and there's going to be no slack in there at all. Just because this pin that was supplied with the kit just looked a little bit too short. So that can be, we're going to use that. There we go, two new hinges, or two reconditioned hinges for 29 bucks. So you can see I've got the bonding bare metal. It really is in fantastic condition. There's a little dent there. There's a little bit ripply there, so once that's all rubbed back there'll be very little bog left on it, or filler I should say, but the rest of it seems to be dead straight. There's a little bit of surface rust here where there was crow's footing, but again we'll sort of, I'll wet rub that actually. I found the best way to get that off is wet rub with 120, it sort of just disappears and leaves a stain there, and so I'll attend to that as well. I've stuck it in dioxidine, so it's got a sort of a yellowy look about it. And there's also tiny little bits of surface rust where the paint had broken through, and that'll, of course, I'll take all that off and I'll re-deoxidine it, and then I'll be ready to put it into an etch primer. But all things considered, you buy these second-hand panels for these cars, you have no idea what you're buying until you take the paint off. And it's been the case with taking the paint off the rest of the car that I've found all sorts of little bits and pieces that have needed welding up or attending to in some way, but this looks alright. Look at those crows. You can see I've started putting door handles on. Didn't bother buying new ones because there's nothing wrong with these. They're sort of not pitted or anything. They're just a couple of screws from behind. Those gaskets are actually the original ones that I've reused. There was nothing wrong with them. I just cleaned them up and put them back on. So I didn't think it was necessary to replace them. Door, we've sort of welded this up here, and there's a bit of welding here, and it's dented along here. So I've sort of taken the metal up under there and filled over there. Bonnet, the same thing. There's a tiny little dent there. I've taken all those. You can see the staining there. I've taken that tiny little dent out. Or at least I filled it. It wasn't worth taking it out. So I'm going to stop there because otherwise I'm going to go over 20 minutes. And I like to sort of leave these videos at around 20 minutes if I can. So again, I didn't really get as much done as I thought I would. I've got more stuff coming for the front. Hang on a second, I'll take all that over. It gets dusty in here. Stuck some horns on. So in the next video I will do these, the sort of front. I'll wire this up. I haven't done those yet, and I've got to also replace these sockets here and wire in the driving lights. And the other thing which I find, which I'll need to do, there's a few repairs I have to do to this guard which I didn't see before. Then I can put the filler panel in under here, and the grille. The grille surround, because you can't put your headlights in or anything like that without the grille surround, so that's all got to be painted. And at the moment, you know, it's okay, but it hasn't been touched yet. I've sort of fixed up odds and ends here. The little headlight buckets there, just galvanise those bits here. You don't paint those, otherwise you get smoke off them when the headlights heat up. But this needs a tiny bit of straightening in areas, particularly just this area down here. And then this needs to be painted, so it needs to be sort of polished around these areas here, and there's a silver insert around there. Now I think the GT Falcons had Argent silver, is that right? In there, around these areas here. Some people just polish them. I think they look, a bit plain polished. And I think the Falcon / Fairmont's used a sort of a satin black in there. I'm not sure. I need to find out about that. So if anyone wants to chime in with a message as to how to do this, I'd appreciate it. But that comes next as well. So again, car still looks the same as when you last saw it, but we're moving forward very, very slowly. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.